Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fall webinar for Chapter Advisors. Thank you so much for being here today to discuss Phi Sigma Pi's new Chapter Standards of Excellence. I'm Danielle Reidenbach, Director of Leadership Advancement, and I'm the Chapter Advisor contact for Phi Sigma Pi. I'm also in charge of Phi Sigma Pi's award-winning certification program called Leadership in Action. Just to note, this webinar will be sent to you in an email this afternoon for you to watch at your own pace if you are interested. Let's jump right into it. The Chapter Standards of Excellence, or CSE for short, offers an online evaluation resource to empower chapters to annually meet the highest standards of chapter governance, management, and mission-driven operations. It has been developed to provide transparency for what it means to achieve excellence and be eligible for awards such as the Joseph Torch Outstanding Chapter Award, which is the highest designation a chapter can achieve annually. The Chapter Standards of Excellence consists of 8 guiding principles covering over 40 focus areas and benchmarks. Together, these outline best practices and governing requirements of a chapter's operations, training, member development, and 2 structured implementation programs, the Tripod Event and Recruitment. This program is designed to provide the basic concepts of leading a nonprofit organization, for that is exactly what each chapter is, a nonprofit entity with the mission to improve humanity with honor. The expectation is that each chapter works toward achieving these standards over the coming years. These standards are intentionally challenging, yet relevant to serving as a basis for running a strong and effective chapter. It is important that chapters understand that it is not required or even expected that chapters will complete every task every year, with the exception of national constitution requirements. Chapters should use these tasks and pieces to track growth and help set goals for improvement. As you can see, the Chapter Standards of Excellence is set up like a Trivial Pursuit game piece, with the goal to collect all of the pie pieces. Let's break down each piece. The first pie piece we are going to discuss today is the purple piece, or chapter development. The focus of this area is to ensure that existing chapter members continue to learn and grow through programming opportunities such as Leadership in Action, Leadership Academy, chapter visits, and chapter programming. The 3 tasks with stars on the end are tasks that the chapter must complete based on the national constitution. Completing the other tasks shows Phi Sigma Pi excellence. The first task, hold 2 risk management programs for chapter members and initiates. These programs are planned by the chapter and can range on topics. The next one, participate in an annual chapter visit by the national office. This may be virtual or in-person visit with the chapter services team or expansion team, or an in-person visit with the leadership advancement team. Next, have 1 active student member leadership in action facilitator. Leadership in Action is the award-winning certification program made up of modules on soft skills. Each chapter needs to have at least 1 facilitator to lead the modules for the chapter at their respective institution. Members can become Leadership in Action facilitators at National Convention, Leadership Academy, or by attending a virtual training. The next virtual facilitator training will be on Wednesday, October 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. In order to be an active facilitator, the facilitator must facilitate a module. Next, host 2 Leadership in Action modules. A full list of local modules can be found at phisigmapi.org/modules. There are dozens to choose from on a variety of topics such as communication, time management, conflict resolution, strategic planning, and diversity and inclusion. Members can request a module at phisigmapi.org/request-a-module. The next one, send at least 2 student members to the Leadership Academy. Leadership Academy is a weekend-long event that includes personal leadership development, officer and committee chair training, and strategic planning. A list of locations and dates can be found at phisigmapi.org/leadership academy. Registration for the 5 locations will open next month. And the last one, send a delegate to National Convention. National Convention in 2019 will be held in Orlando, Florida from July 31st to August 4th. Each chapter must send at least 1 person to National Convention. This person is the representative of the chapter and is a crucial part of making changes and amendments to our national constitution, which our fraternity is run. The next pie piece we are going to talk about is communications. The focus of this area is to ensure that supportive relationships are developed and maintained with the national office, faculty advisor, alumni advisor and board, and sheltering institution. The task with stars at the end are national constitution requirements. There are 2 in this section. First, meet with your chapter advisor twice in the academic year. We want our chapters to build relationships with our advisors on the ground. As an advisor, you offer resources that on a national level we frankly cannot give. We can give our chapters direction. However, each university and college is built and run different. Therefore, your advice and guidance is helpful. Next, have a chapter advisor. If you're watching this webinar, your chapter already has that crossed off the list. Send a minimum of 2 published communications to alumni. Next, invite alumni to a minimum of 1 event. And lastly, invite university, college president, or provost to a minimum of 1 sponsored Phi Sigma Pi event. And that wraps up the communications piece. Next is the yellow pie piece, which means public awareness. The focus of this area is to ensure that national guidelines are adhered to. Significant campus and community outreach is a part of a chapter's public relations, and that quality social media practices are in place. The task with a star at the end is a national constitution requirement. First, have a local philanthropy. This is an organization in the chapter's community that the chapter supports heavily. Next, support Hobie. The Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Organization is Phi Sigma Pi's national philanthropy. Members are asked to connect to the closest Hobie affiliate to them by going to phisigmapi.org/service. A few ways members can get involved includes volunteering for a Hobie seminar, planning a Hobie clue, or sponsoring a high school student to attend a seminar. Next, application of style and graphic guides. The chapter should use the style guide and the logo and brand guidelines located in the Resource Center of the Phi Sigma Pi website at phisigmapi.org/resources. Examples of incorrect terms that would cause a chapter to not complete this task are rush instead of recruitment, using honors and national honor fraternity, or co-ed instead of gender inclusive. Incorrect or inappropriate uses of the logo will also cause a chapter to be marked as incomplete for this task. Next, hours to plan and execute service events. Since our mission is to improve humanity with honor, the chapter must report the number of hours of service members completed. Next, social media profiles are active and accurate. Chapters will report their social media accounts to the national office through the chapter admin portal. And lastly, press release submissions. The chapter must submit at least 1 press release each year. Examples can be found at phisigmapi.org/resources. Next is the light blue pie piece, which means chapter sustainability. The focus of this area is to ensure effective and meaningful membership development, member onboarding, and member retention. The tasks with stars at the end are national constitution requirements. First, host the alumni ritual ceremony. This ceremony is listed in the ceremonies and ritual book. Every chapter was supplied copies of this book. If a chapter needs a new one, they can email pspoffice@phisigmapi.org. Next, meets or exceeds new member outreach. The chapter must fill out the recruitment form on the chapter admin portal and meet or exceed the recruitment goal set by the national staff. Next, fulfillment of national initiation program requirements. The chapter must fill out the initiation program information under the recruitment form in the chapter admin portal. The Constitution requirements are to give initiates and members 3+ weeks notification of the induction ceremony date, hold a minimum of 5 initiate meetings with the Scholars Province curriculum, Have the initiate class plan one event that represents Phi Sigma Pi's ideals. Have each initiate attend at least one chapter meeting. Assign each initiate to a collegiate member or active alumni member. Give each initiate a copy of the Scholars Province, governing documents, and initiation calendar. Teach each initiate the fraternal songs and national and local history. Have each initiate receive at least 80% on the national exam. Give constructive feedback on each initiate's progress to the initiate. These are all National Constitution requirements. The next focus area is the chapter must approve the initiate program and list the date that this took place in the chapter admin portal. Host recruitment events in the fall and the spring. Each chapter must hold at least 2 recruitment events in the fall and in the winter/spring. The chapter must also hold at least 2 informational sessions in the fall and also in the winter and spring. The next tasks include the initiate retention rate. The chapter must meet or exceed the initiate retention rate in both recruitment periods. The successful retention is at least 85% of those pinned going through the induction ceremony and marked in the initiate to member form as a student member. And lastly, resignation, expulsion, retention rate. The chapter must mark those who have resigned or who have been expelled in the chapter admin portal. Next is strategy and evaluation, which is the orange pie piece. The focus of this area is to ensure that mission-driven scholarship, leadership, and fellowship events are held and that strategic planning and evaluation of these events are in place. The tasks with stars at the end are National Constitution requirements. First, academic year goals submitted. The chapter must submit their academic year goals in the chapter admin portal. In the spring, the chapter will list its goals for the upcoming year. For example, in the spring of 2019, the chapter will submit its goals for the fall 2019 spring 2020 academic year. Also, the chapter must host at least 2 scholarship events, leadership events, and fellowship events. The chapter must also evaluate the events submitted. That is our orange piece. Next is chapter leadership, which is the green pie piece. The focus of this area is to ensure that best practices are properly implemented for executive board operations, officers, committee chairs, and chapter communication. The tasks with stars at the end are National Constitution requirements. First, executive board reports submitted. The chapter must submit all forms by the proper due dates. All due dates can be found at phisigmapi.org/due dates. Hold an officer transition program. The chapter must have an officer transition program and report the length of the program. On a national level, we suggest a 4-week officer transition program. Details on this can be found in the advisor handbook. Next, hold weekly executive board meetings. Next, host the ritual review 2 times. The ritual review can be found in the back of the ceremonies and ritual books supplied to the chapter. Again, if the chapter needs this book, they can send an email to pspoffice@phisigmapi.org. And lastly, officer installation ceremony performed, which is listed in the ceremonies and ritual book. This ceremony is held when new officers are elected. The dark blue piece is about compliance and ethics. The focus of this area is to ensure that a chapter has national convention representation and adheres to national and chapter policies. The tasks with stars at the end are National Constitution requirements. The chapter must submit chapter bylaws, chapter operating policies, and a risk management policy. The chapter must provide reasonable accommodations for attendees with disabilities. Chapter meetings must be held with quorum at least every 2 weeks. The chapter cannot have disciplinary concerns with the national office. This includes the chartering school as well. And the chapter must maintain university recognition. The last piece is about finance and operations. The focus of this area is to ensure that budgeting, proper fundraising, and submitting dues and fees on time are part of the chapter's practices. The task with stars at the end are national constitution requirements. An annual budget must be submitted. The chapter is expected to upload an actual budget from the current academic year and a projected budget for the next academic year in the chapter admin portal. The chapter will need to report the type of account that the chapter deposits its funds into. Next, weekly financial reports. The chapter will report if the treasurer provided weekly financial reports to the chapter. Next, applied for school funding for national events such as Leadership Academy or National Convention. The chapter must submit all monetary dues postmarked by the due date that can be found at phi-sigma-pi.org/due dates for the submitted dues by required due dates. The chapter must also submit new member initiate information, graduating senior information, update the member roster, and submit incoming officer information by the correct due dates. And lastly, it is also the responsibility of the chapter to budget to send a delegate to National Convention. And those are the pieces that make up the pie. The next question is, where can chapters access where they stand and what they are still missing? Welcome to the chapter admin portal. The chapter admin portal is where members will self-report most of the focus area tasks. This is also where members update their rosters, add their initiates, and fill out forms. In the chapter admin portal, forms have different accessibility levels depending on a member's leadership position in the chapter. Those that have access include president, vice president, corresponding secretary, treasurer, parliamentarian, historian, initiate advisor, recruitment advisor, alumni chair, fundraising chair, scholarship chair, service chair, and social chair. Members can find the chapter's Standards of Excellence report by going to Reports, CSE Reports, CSE Scorecard Report. It's important to note that this is a 2-page report. You also have access to this report. In addition to that report, by logging into the chapter admin portal, you can also see rosters, the financial statement, administration reports, alumni relations activities, financial activities, academic year goals, recruitment initiation planning, risk management planning, tripod summary, and archived reports. So how do you get to the chapter admin portal? You can find the chapter admin portal through the Phi Sigma Pi website. Once you go to phi-sigma-pi.org, in the upper right, you will click on Member Login, and then Chapter Admin Portal on the top bar. You'll be asked to log in with your Phi Sigma Pi username and password. Your username is the email address where you receive Phi Sigma Pi emails. If you're unsure of your password, you can contact me at advisor@phi-sigma-pi.org. And that is the Chapter Standards of Excellence.